hide. They get me wearing one hat.
Oh,
No.
well. I read the minutes,
Did you come here looking for one?
but I didn't see a vehicle, so I didn't saw it. There's some change.
Okay, I have 7 o'clock. Are we all set?
Yep.
Okay, we call to order. May 18th, 2017, the Durham Board of Selectmen meeting. First order of business is a public hearing, which was duly posted, and to begin at 7 o'clock. The purpose of this public hearing is a result of some state legislative action that happened in April. I will briefly, I won't read the whole thing, but I will read a couple of pieces out of the notification relative to that legislation. And the public hearing is now open, and so that once I've done that, we will open up for public comment relative to that specific piece of legislation and that public hearing topic. And then at the conclusion of that, the board will decide on what further action would be appropriate to take based on the input and other factors that have been provided over the last couple of weeks. So on the governor on April 21st, 2017 signed HB 329, the bill addressing ratification of voting results from town meeting voting sessions that were postponed due to severe weather on March 14th. And just as an aside, as you may recall, Durham does fit into that category. We did postpone the election from March 14th to March 16th. Continuing on, the bill is effective immediately, April 21st. We thank the governor for giving his prompt attention to this bill, and this is from an NHMA communication on that particular sentence. Under the bill, all elections of any person to any elected position in a town, school district, or village district are ratified. No further action is required by the political subdivision to ratify those elections, so the election results are automatically protected against any legal challenge. So now on that. In addition, the governing body may ratify all other action, votes, and proceedings held at any session that was scheduled to take place on March 14th and was postponed due to weather. If the governing body elects to follow this process, it must first hold a properly noticed public hearing, hence tonight's public hearing. Under the terms of the bill, notice of the public hearing must be published at least 72 hours in advance. The Durham did comply with that. In fact, it was earlier than 72 hours. In advance of the hearing, in a newspaper of general circulation in the town or district, and posted at least 72 hours in advance on the public body's internet website if one exists. We emphasize that the newspaper publication and the website posting are both required. Again, the Durham did fulfill that. Other than those notice requirements, the bill does not prescribe any rules for the conduct of the hearing, but it must be a public hearing, so the governing body must allow members of the public to speak before making any decision. Again, hence the public hearing, and hence what we'll do right after I finish this reading. After the public hearing, the governing body may take a vote to legalize, ratify, and confirm the actions taken at the postponed session, if they so choose. The governing body's decision must be in writing and must be posted in the same manner as the results of the postponed election or meeting. DRA has requested that the towns submit a copy of the minutes of the meeting where the vote was taken and a copy of the decision posted by the governing body. So that is, in effect, as I said, why we are holding this public hearing. It also outlines what actions we will take following the input, and then describes the actions that we will do in terms of posting and appropriately following the requirements of HB 329. Any of the select board wish to make any further comment on that before we open the public comment?
I think it's been discussed.
Okay, Alice?
Further.
Okay. So we will entertain any public comments relative to that. HB 329. Shall recognize Mr. Bickford. Please state name and address.
Right, sure.
Well, if you have that. But,
Name is David Bickford, 183 Brackett Road, New Durham, of course. I wasn't clear on what if there are actually options, or is this just a formality to ratify?
I don't know what you mean by options. It is.
The decision, you talked about, well,
Yeah.
and then we'll make a decision. Usually a decision means.
I can read you what was stated as the communication to us, and that is that, which I did at the time, After the public hearing, the governing body may take a vote to legalize, ratify, and confirm. So that is the intent of what we would do, but so that would be the action that we're looking to try to do once we have that input.
Okay, I have no opposition to anything, if that means anything.
No, public input is important.
Make
so.
that in the notes.
Anybody else? Recognize Terry. Please state name and address.
Terry Jarvis, Main Street. I would urge the board to ratify or take whatever legal action is necessary to approve the actions taken at the delayed town meeting. I think that the town moderator acted in the best possible concerns considering the safety of the voters. Having worked for the state, I know it takes basically an act of Congress for the state to close down, and the state closed down that day. That to me is a clear indicator that state government had declared the roads of New Hampshire unsafe for travel, and the moderator was thinking of the lives of the citizens when he delayed. And I would just hope that you would pass it on.
Thank you.
Fred Quimby, South Shore Road. I also concur with Mrs. Jarvis and David Bickford and encourage you to ratify the election.
Thank you. Anyone else? Not seeing anyone else that wishes to have public input. We thank you for that public input. Appreciate it. Again, does the board have any other comments or any other input? Okay. Scott, it wasn't quite clear, I was still in the public hearing part. The action by the board would be taking place during the public hearing part or immediately thereafter?
I would almost think you would close the public hearing.
Right, that's my understanding, but I trying to make sure that
That would be my,
any input you had from legal or anybody else didn't go contrary to that concept.
legal didn't, other than approving the resolution that I prepared. The only other note that I noted from NHMA under the advice was that the minutes of this meeting would need to be posted with that resolution. So I would say that, you know, you would have your hearing, document your input, close your hearing, then deliberate, make a decision. That was just my interpretation of what was written.
Okay. So, having that input, and again, seeing that there's no additional public input, I would move to close the public hearing. It's 7:08. We opened it up at 7 o'clock, as we said. So having completed that part of the HB 329 requirements, I will then go ahead and make a motion to approve the resolution as it reads as follows. And it is a little lengthy, but again, for the purposes of making sure we comply appropriately with HB 329, I want to make sure it's completely read. So again, I will make the motion to approve the resolution that whereas the town of New Durham had the 2017 town meeting voting session scheduled for March 14th, 2017 from 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. at the New Durham School located at 7 Old Bay Road in accordance with the provisions of RSA 40:13. On March 13th, 2017 at 8:02 a.m. the New Hampshire Bureau of Homeland Security and Emergency Management provided a bulletin from the National Weather Service, NWS. The NWS issued a winter storm warning for all of New Hampshire, warning of, quote, major winter storm, end quote. The prediction of the NWS was for 12 to 18 inches of snow with 1 to 4 inches per hour possible. Blizzard conditions were possible with a gust of wind from 30 to 40 miles per hour. Governor Chris Sununu warned citizens not to travel on the roadways unless it was absolutely necessary. State offices and liquor stores were closed in anticipation of the winter storm. On March 13, 2017, at approximately 3 p.m., Town Pro Tem Moderator Richard Leonard determined the forecasted weather presented an unnecessary risk to the safety of voters and election staff who would need to travel to the polls to vote and staff the polls. In making this decision, the moderator received information from the New Hampshire Municipal Association and Town Council Attorney Richard Sager as to the authority of the moderator to postpone the voting day pursuant to RSA 40:4. 40:4 duties read as follows. 1, Roman numeral 1, the moderator shall preside in the town meetings, regulate the business thereof, decide questions of order, and make a public declaration of every vote passed, and may prescribe rules of proceeding, but such rules may be altered by the town. Roman numeral 2, in the event a weather emergency occurs on or before the date of a deliberative session or voting day of a meeting in a town, which the moderator reasonably believes may cause the roads to be hazardous or unsafe, the moderator may, up to 2 hours prior to the scheduled session, postpone and reschedule the deliberative session or voting day of the meeting to another reasonable date, place, and time certain. The date originally scheduled shall continue to be deemed the deliberative session or voting day of the meeting for purposes of satisfying statutory meeting date requirements. Provided that in towns or districts that have adopted RSA 40:13, the postponement shall not delay the deliberative session more than 72 hours. The moderator shall employ whatever means are available to inform citizens of the postponement and the rescheduled deliberative session or voting day. That's the end of the 40:14 duties. The moderator postponed the meeting day from March 14th, 2017 to March 16th, 2017. The voting times remained the same, but the location changed from the New Durham School to the New Durham Fire Station Community Room located at 6 Main Street. The notice was posted on the town website on March 13, 2017 at 4 p.m. The notice was also posted on the signboards of the New Durham School and Fire Station on Main Street. The information was provided to the WMUR television station for posting with its scrolling notices. The town clerk was present at the voting location on March 13, 2017 from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. She provided information to any voters who may have arrived to vote as to the date of the postponement. Only 8 voters came to the polling place during these times. Therefore, the moderator acted within his authority. Further, he acted in the best interest of the voters by postponing the voting session of town meeting in the interest of public safety. The safety of the citizens of this town is of the foremost concern to its officials. The decision to postpone ensured the safety of citizens and allowed for the processes of democracy to occur without unduly infringing upon the right to vote. The advice provided by the New Hampshire Municipal Association and Town Council is in accordance with the law. The interpretation of the law in this case is in the finest traditions of the legal profession. The NHMA, or New Hampshire Municipal Association, has demonstrated its role of providing training, assistance, guidance, and advocacy on behalf of local government in the state with a high degree of professionalism that we have come to expect. After a properly noticed public hearing on this date, in accordance with the provision of HB 329, which was passed into law on April 21st, 2017, we do hereby ratify the 2017 town meeting and all actions taken by the legislative body by vote of the people on March 16th, 2017. That's the motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Any further discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? It is carried 3-0. So, this notice will also say the resolution was adopted by the Board of Selectmen on May 18th, 2017. By the way, Scott, I want to cross something out here because it's not a school. Oh, but that's what I read as a motion, so it's all right. This will conform to the motion I read. Okay. Thank you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. My double. Double whammy of school.
Okay.
Okay, public hearing is complete, closed, actions taken, and all the actions on the voting day are now ratified. We have appointments and announcements. Part B was Corey White. So, yeah, please,
Corey White, Farmington, New Hampshire.
Barney.
Yes, thank you for allowing me to take a few minutes of your meeting for one of you guys.
You bet.
I'm here tonight to petition or request for us to build a residential home on a Class 6 town road. A few things here. So just to go over a few things quickly, I was reading through some of the town website, and they have some guidelines that talks about this type of situation a little bit. So I just like to, this is just for reference, but if you skip through, what we're looking for is on section 4, it's a waiver of distance limitations, because it is beyond that 600-foot limitation, and I can go into that in a minute. But at the very bottom of this page, I highlighted each application in case we looked at on a case-by-case basis. I ask, as we talk about this, that is the case. We really look at this as a case-by-case basis. So 1 through 6 has some parameters around how the road must be improved in order for this type of thing to happen. Next, I have some tax maps I outlined for you, showing the location of this structure. The distance, 878 feet, is to the property line, and that's per the tax map. That's not wheeled off.
That's from a Class what road, Jenkins Road?
So Jenkins Road is a Class 5 road, but Libby Road, which is the road off of that, is a Class 6 road. And then I have attached some tax maps as well for you behind there, which you may or may already have. And I highlighted the approximate location of the structure. And then a few things that I can go into here. So I've done a little bit of homework. I had an engineering company come out there and assess the road itself and the building lot. So this is Brown Engineering out of Barrington. If you note at his top there, there's 1,170 feet of road to upgrade. There's no slopes over 10%, and everything can be accommodated with minor earthwork. This is per a site walkthrough that we did. And this gives you the actual, so the difference between 878 feet and the 1170 is the driveway. So it's 878 to the actual property line, but the entrance of the driveway, as we deemed it anyway upon that walk-in, is that 1,100 feet.
Just a quick question.
Sure.
For clarification. Sure. I appreciate you providing the
Sure.
factors that you have. I think it's very complete in terms of what you're looking
Yep.
for from your initial review here. The primary point on the first paragraph on page 1 is review and comment by the planning board. Have you made any comments or presentations to the planning board yet?
No.
Okay. I don't think we would be able to make any comments or further decisions on this until we would adhere to that and get the planning board's input and comments.
Okay.
Which I would encourage you to schedule through town hall or whatever means you wish to do that. But this gives good background.
Yep.
If and when that would come back for
Okay.
us, if it goes to that route. But you do need to go for the planning
Okay.
board's review and comments first.
Okay, so is that similar situation, schedule an appointment with them and walk through that?
I think that's the easiest way to do it.
Okay.
And I think they're very amenable to having
Okay.
that as soon as you're ready to do it.
Okay,
They meet on the first and third
okay.
Tuesdays.
And then the next step in that process is to come again before the board?
Well, whatever their review and comments are, would be the next step.
Okay,
Now, if they have comments that you need to do certain things, that's something that you have to think
Okay.
about whether you want to do
Okay.
that. or proceed in another fashion. But yeah, that's the next step, is to make the comments and the presentation to them, get their input and other suggestions and comments that they would have. And then if it's still necessary for the select board to be involved,
Sure.
then we'll come back.
Sure, okay. Can I ask if there's been any history with this type of thing where you guys have had to make a ruling on this?
There has not been, that I recall, in the last 3 or 4 years. I do
Okay.
recall the planning board having a review on something similar to this. I think it was 600 feet rather than 800 feet
Yep.
difference, but something similar to that.
Yep.
But I think that's still
Okay.
being looked at by the applicant.
Okay.
I'm not sure about that.
Yep,
Don't
that's
quote me on
fine.
that part,
Yep,
but
I understand.
I do
Yep.
recall something coming
Yep,
up
okay,
on the planning board in a similar fashion as this.
okay.
It was about 2 years ago, a year and a half ago, something like that.
All right. So will there, so that there may or may not need to be a ruling by this board after I talk to the planning board?
Yeah, well, yeah, and I think that's a fair.
May or may not.
The planning board needs to have their review and comment, and then wherever that takes from there is
Okay.
you have to decide
Okay.
how to do it next.
Okay,
Okay.
makes sense to me.
Can I just, so the understanding would be for him to go before planning board, get that input,
Their comments and
comment.
input, yeah.
But you are the ruling authority relative to that permission or non-permission. or
Correct,
waiver.
but again, that's his decision on how he wants to handle after they've had their comments, because I don't know what their comments will be, and it may impact how he wants to proceed.
Yeah, and I apologize because I may have misled him, because the last one that, since I've been here, I believe came straight to the board. And I think that was actually up, I can't remember what road it was.
Jenkins Road.
Was it?
You're talking about Sousa on Jenkins Road.
Jennings Road, and that was for a driveway that was beyond one
Yeah,
house already there.
But I
600.
think that went to planning board.
You kicked it back to planning
Right.
because, to see if he could use his
Right.
drive
Right.
to traverse 2 lots.
Right.
Yeah.
May I comment on that?
Yeah.
The
Chairman.
procedure that we did before is we said, we turned them down. The Board of Selectmen just flat out turned them down. And then we did say, go to the planning board and maybe they can come up with some idea what you can do maybe on a shared driveway situation. So I don't think there's anything in the ordinance or whatever that says he needs to go to the planning board.
Specifically says after review by the planning board.
Yeah.
Oh, did it? In the
I
ordinance?
missed that totally.
That's okay.
In the first
Yeah.
section.
Oh, it is in the ordinance?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's why I did what I did.
Yeah, that's clear.
It says you have the authorization for the issuance of the building permit on a Class 6 road after review and comment by the planning board.
Yeah, he hadn't, I don't think the other guy went to the planning board first.
I don't believe so, but I'm not 100%.
We did ask him to go there though.
If that's the appropriate step, I can definitely take that. Yeah, that's okay.
I
No
don't
problem at all.
I don't think we took an official action to deny. I think we did ask them to go to planning board.
Okay.
Yeah.
When do they meet again?
They meet the
first and
second,
third?
the second and the fourth. I said
Yeah, they
this-
just
I'm
met this
sorry,
past Tuesday, so it'll
Yeah,
be
the
2
second.
weeks.
Second and fourth Tuesday.
Second and fourth Tuesday, okay.
So I think the next one is,
Now it's the first and third.
I'm sorry, first and third. They're on the same as us.
That's what I recall it was, but I didn't think that changed. But yes, the first and third. So the next one would be, just quickly, the next one I believe would be June 6th.
Okay,
And if you would call,
Yeah, thank you.
usually the land use clerk
sure.
to get on the agenda, you're very, very welcome to try to get you on
Awesome.
the agenda as early as you are able to.
Yeah, it's within the.
Thanks for the direction. Okay.
Would you like to keep these?
Yeah, at least one, so I can present it to them.
Okay.
Here, why don't we do this to you?
Sure.
Again,
Sure.
it's a
Yeah.
very
It might come back to it at some point, but,
I'm on the
Nice
planning
job
board,
on
so
the
if you
packet.
want, hang on.
yeah, absolutely, that'd be great. Appreciate that. Thank you very much for your time.
If it's okay, I'll hang on.
Yeah, definitely hang on to that, yep.
With the, the minutes. file
Yep,
of the-
yep, great, thank you very much.
Thank you.
My apologies again.
Okay, next on the agenda is public input. We'll open to public input.
Thank you, David Bickford. Do we need to use voting by our seats is okay now, or
I'm sorry,
where are we supposed to position ourselves? Or just speak
you're
from
fine
our
where
seat?
you are.
Okay.
Or if you're more comfortable standing on the podium, you can welcome to do that.
Well, I see you.
Whatever you want, whatever's easy for you.
I wanted to inquire about a couple of appointments I saw, names that people were appointed, and I'm quite sure they hadn't been on the committees before. And we are, or I should say, the Board of Selectmen are supposed to interview anyone that hasn't been on a board before, have them come before the meeting and do an interview. It's very similar to what you did with Rod Doherty when you appointed him. And that would be the Town of New Durham, New Hampshire policy on appointed boards, committees, and commissions appointed by the Board of Selectmen, dated November 3rd, 2014. And that would be C, appointment process for first-time candidates. So it looked to me like you had overlooked that, I want to point out.
Okay.
And I thought it might be a good idea to also add to that policy people's addresses. So when you nominate them, to read not only their name, but their address. Because we do it here in the public input, or anytime we ask the public to speak to us, we always ask them the name and address, so it might be appropriate to do the same on a nomination. So I wanted to add that also. And take a look at your minutes, Scott. I'm going to try to get a hold of you on this, but you have two.
Which date? Which
I'll
date
look it
minutes?
up, a different piece of paper. Scott's familiar with this one. 426. You've got two sets of minutes for approved minutes on 426, and they're both identical. And I don't know but if you had two meetings that day, because it's different than the one that is on your draft. So if you could check out the draft and the approved minutes, because I wanted to cross-reference and to make sure on the approved minutes that maybe something had been overlooked, because I know a lot of names were incorrectly on the draft.
Is this the one with all the nominations and appointments?
Yeah.
Yeah, we actually are going to revisit that tonight because there's still one name that needs.
Oh, you haven't approved those yet?
They have been approved, but there was, as I reviewed it afterwards, we did not make one change in one of the motions for a name correction. So we're going to do that tonight.
Yeah, there was a number of errors I saw in that one on names.
There's only one. I think we corrected all the others.
Oh, okay, yeah. Anyway, that's the one that's not
Yeah.
up on the approval.
That may not be because I emailed you and said we need to review that tonight, which I think you have in the packet. That's the one.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
page 5.
420.
We have page 5 name that was not changed when we approved it. So we'll review that again and as far as I'm concerned, we don't need to do that unless there's other people want to check changes.
Just to, for clarification purposes, because we've revised that policy already on May 4th. That policy was revised, but I don't believe that interview portion was changed. But since I've been here, I don't recall the Board of Selectmen conducting interviews other than to find out from the committee whether or not the individual has attended a committee meeting and has been so-called, I guess, approved or nominated or supportive, and could say whether or not that person's been there. I don't remember a board of inquiry.
Yeah,
Well,
we have.
You have to appoint them to be able to follow the policy.
That's point one. I missed something.
Yeah. Well, you have to appoint people to follow the policy,
Nominate.
and that too. The prior board did not really appoint a lot of committees.
Right. Well,
So
it
you
became,
have to appoint them to follow it.
well, as you recall, it was missed on Craig Randall's, and I pointed it out, and then I was overruled, so we had to let it go. But anybody that there wasn't on the board, would be interviewed. And we asked them to always also attend at least one meeting before they were appointed, which is also one to see. And that very well could be too the case in this case. So it'll be two issues.
Any other public input?
I got one on the
Could you
transfer.
introduce, please?
Ken Fanjoy from 280 Kings Highway. Last meeting was brought up about the transfer station, about the hours, and it was supposed to be looked into, and I noticed it wasn't on the minutes for this meeting.
Right.
You're supposed to meet with the supervisor and see which way would be
Right.
best.
And that's, I know that the town administrator is doing that, but that's being processed.
Okay.
Anything else for public input? Seeing nothing else, we will close public input. Agenda review. Anything people want to add? I do have, and I would defer to Selectman Chase here, but we had talked about the idea of, and I just last meeting arbitrarily called it coffee with the town, but it's the idea of a town official of some sort meeting with whoever public wants to come on an informal basis over at the corner store. I would be willing to add that to the agenda if you'd like to do it, if you want to do a little more thinking in how it should be set up and all that. I don't have a problem.
Let's put it off to the next meeting.
Okay.
Do you want to be the contact with
Darryl.
Darryl?
Okay. So
I'm
then
gonna
work
talk
out.
to him.
Yeah.
Okay.
Again, I think you have already talked to him, but
Yeah.
I talked to him independently probably 2 weeks ago or so. He was very, very willing and interested in doing it. So.
It would be good to get it going, particularly with Summerfield coming in too.
And there was a possibility that the cable access channel would film that as well.
Okay.
One thing I just noticed, because I just finished typing them, was that I did not put on the May 17th public portion of the minutes. I know it's an opening and closing aspect of things as a formality, but I did type those minutes up.
Okay. So we'll add that to the list of,
We do not have the May 15 minutes completed yet. I had not received them yet from the recording secretary.
okay. So just to clarify, we have May 4, April 20th, and May 17th to review on the public side. And the May 20th is that correction we talked about. So.
April 20.
Sorry, April 20th, yeah. I think, David, you said April 26th, but are you talking about 26th or the 20th?
26.
Okay.
We're double up.
That one we're not reaching.
I wrote it down.
You don't, although you don't have the 20th on the approved list.
So,
Okay.
They have been approved, but we're going to revisit them tonight on the 20th.
The 20th or the 26th?
20.
20th.
Yeah, those
26th, I
those
think we've
show,
already been
they're
approved.
not on the website, you know, that's
Okay,
approved.
we'll check that. Okay, we can check
I'll
that.
make sure that they are. but-
Okay, anything else on the agenda review?
Is that right?
Yeah, I thought, but once again,
20th?
you drag things into a thing that goes into space and you think it's gonna be where it is, and somebody comes in and tells you it's not, so.
Yeah, I understand.
Is it on there?
I haven't.
Okay, we can do that afterwards, because you're out next.
I'm up to-
Town administrator report.
Okay, so the next item that we have here is the prepared a memo for you regarding the 2017 and 2018 road program. Matt Ingham and myself spent some time reviewing what had been previously provided to the board, and then reviewing other roads and road segments relative to trying to maximize our preservation work prior to getting a RSMS study conducted of the roadway system here. And just to follow up on that road surface management study, I have been in communication and dialogue with Stratford County Planning. They have us on their list for consideration, and to try to accommodate us in their field work as part of our membership with the folks there. So in the review, as I've indicated in my memo, we went through and reviewed the roads and road segments. This would be, when I talk about preservation, this would be to continue to prolong or prolong life expectancy of asphalt paved roads. So in this situation here, it would be treatment conditions of crack sealing, chip sealing, and also pavement overlay and shimming of pavement sections. We've concentrated on areas that have been previously either base paved and had not received a top coat treatment pavement. So we did historical look back at the roadways and the roads that had not been overlaid, and we're starting to, as if you ride around and you see a road that is getting very, very grainy in appearance or gray, and it has porous, generally it's because it was a base pavement or a heavier coarse pavement, and if it hasn't been overlaid in 2 to 3 years, generally that's a condition in which it will appear and should be overlaid to help strengthen the pavement and also to keep it from falling apart. So we looked at several different road segments. Some of those are indicated on the first spreadsheet that you have for 2017. Those are in fact roads for overlay, roads that were done, I believe, 3 years ago, and they're in the Kings Highway, Copple Crown roadway, golf course, I call it. It's kind of confusing because it's really not Copple Crown, but the road is called Copple Crown. In that vicinity there, those roads were base paved in that area because they were reclaimed. They did not receive a top coat pavement on that area, as well as the upper section of Birch Hill Road. That area was base paved several years ago and did not receive a top coat pavement treatment in that area. It's in good condition and would only require the top coating to be done in those areas. There are other areas along the Birch Hill area coming down through for various treatments, whether it be a shim and then a overlay application in that area, and also making some repairs to some bad sections that are on this end here. We did some assessment. We've had a boring, some borings that were done in that area there. There's fabric in some areas with inadequate gravels over the tops of those, which will cause problem for reclaiming. So we need to really take some further study and assessment as to what's going to be the best treatment to deal with that. Right now, the best treatment to deal with it is to shim and do a kind of a temporary band-aid in those areas so we can continue to maintain them, and they won't puddle water and make it deteriorate even more than what it is in those areas. So that'll help those areas, but it's only a temporary fix until we can determine what is going to be the long-term fix in a couple of those areas. We also want to look at the intersections at Birch Hill and Brackett Road. That, as you know, is a depressed area. Sightline issues in both directions coming off the Brackett Road, or definitely on the Brackett Road towards the lake, I call it.
On your list, that's what, number 2749 or what?
Yeah, the shimming of the repairs were going to be on this end here, which will be in this 27 to 49 vicinity, as well as there's a few other spots farther up the road, and then the end of the road, as it's depicted there before, number 327, about 5,000 feet, almost a mile up there. That is a top coat which is needed on that end up there. And then there is a section of Old Bay Road between Tash Road and Drew Road for a top coat, which is needed in that area there as well, and that will complete that segment of Old Bay Road in that situation. This basically keeps the paving operations in an area which is manageable for the paver, kind of a neighborhood aspect of things as well. Plus, as you know, we still have about a mile on Kings Highway that was carried over from 2016. So we will address that at the same time when they're up there taking care of the other paving work.
So just quickly, the 2017 listing that you have here is not any carryover from the prior year.
That's correct.
Do you have that list by any chance?
The only thing that I have is that it's 5,000, it's like 5,100 feet that was up there for paving on
Kings Highway.
Kings Highway. It was about, it equates to about $112,000 that we, if I remember that was carried, encumbered over. We'll put that all in the pavement and go as far as it'll take us on
Did you get that,
Kings Highway.
distribute that list to us of what that carryover plan, road, shimming, paving, preservation, whatever it is that you call it?
Yep.
To the board?
Yeah. Yep. And that'll be picking up from where they left off the previous year, which was, I believe, 2015. They did a segment on Kings Highway as well, and this will be to continue beyond. I believe the first segment is the Wolfeboro end. There's a piece, and then there will be 2 more miles that will be on the Middleton end that will have to be completed.
That's not from 2016, is it, or is it? From
No.
Yeah. You know that the original comment was for 2017, and I asked you to make sure you also looked at 2018 and bring it. There was some reason for that, and that not that we would do all of 2018 with this following comment either, but I have heard rumblings. It's nothing definite, but I've heard rumblings that the state may increase the road grant amount. To be, and again, you hear numbers all over the place, so you don't know where it will be, but it could be up to as much as equal to what we're already getting, which is somewhere around $110,000. Let's go be anything from 0 to 110. Nothing definite, but it has to do with the budget process that's ongoing now with the state and all of that. Again, there's no assurance of that, but that's one of the reasons why I asked you as well, as I wanted to get a window into what 2018 might look like. So that, having said that, you might look at 2018 projects and prioritize them under the scenario that there may be, up to $100,000 potentially.
Yeah. You will notice, and I would just on a caveat of this section here, is I plan on either Monday or Tuesday for Matt and myself to meet with the paving contractor. He'll review this. We have put this estimate together, Matt and I, primarily Matt, with a little bit of input from some of the numbers here. We've done the measuring. We kind of mapped it out on the cost side of things. He'll review it and either validate, verify our quantities that we've put together by our mathematical aspects. He'll actually do the live look at it, do that, and then we'll make sure we can get everything done, if not or more, based upon what his estimate is from doing his measuring as well. You'll see on the 2018 project list that we put together, when Matt and I went out and wrote it, after we added everything up, of course, we couldn't pay for all the 17, so we pushed these items into 18. These were things that we saw that still needed to be looked at in the project itself. There is some additional, as you will see here, there is some looking at paving of gravel road, of bracket road, and there would be some base paving that would take place on a section of bracket road as well.
This is a potential proposal.
Correct.
Not.
Yeah, we looked at where would be the best advantage in order to do that type of work, and what it comes down to is on a maintenance functionality aspect. of having a, you know, a gravel road which is stuck in the middle of paved roads, and where its proximity is relative to other roads and gravel roads as well, and the condition of those roads, because as you know, there was a study that was done previously, and there was a considerable amount of work, according to what I understand from talking to Matt, relative to the work that was done on Brackett Road, from probably when Mark Fuller was maybe road agent. And I believe a majority of that work was from, I call it Brackett Road North, on the north end of the pave, from that end coming back towards Penny Lane. I believe a large amount of that was done Highway Department and
About a third of a mile, isn't it?
I believe so.
It's all for pavement.
Exactly.
Yeah, the town hired,
Just
an engineer.
if I may.
Cool.
You actually had, the reason is you had somebody else raise their hand before you did, so.
That's right.
So, Scott, I don't know if you had anything else to want to complete.
No, I just wanted to explain, that's how we came up with some of the information that you had before you. This figure that preliminarily, just so you know, on 2018, there is some additional construction monies that may need to be added in here. If we undertake the intersection work at Birch Hill and Brackett Road at the same time, we have not factored in, because we haven't shot the grades out there to find out what the cut fill situation would be out there. Plus there is a fairly large project relative to a culvert replacement on South Shore Road, which has some.
How far in the South Shore? A couple miles?
Yeah, yeah, it's a double culvert.
Almost, yeah, about halfway to the end, yeah.
That will have to be replaced, and engineering, permitting, and probably a precast type of structure will have to go in there. So
Okay.
pretty good dollars.
Terry, you had your hand up too?
Yeah, I just wanted to hear again, the work on Kings Highway, the first mile from the Wolfeboro line heading towards Middleton was done some years ago, or?
Yeah, that's what my recollection is. It was done some years ago, and that was not, I don't believe that was overlaid in that section.
So,
Let me just think now, I gotta think, because I'm trying to Mr. Fanjoy is up on, you're on this end, right?
Wolfeboro, towards Wolfeboro.
Towards Wolfeboro, so I may have got my bearings wrong here. I know that there is still left to be paved out there, even after we pave to the 2016 work. There'll be still an additional 2 miles of road. There's 4 miles altogether. So a mile was done in 2015, which I believe was a section that would have been in by where Copple Crown is now. Copple Crown is the actual development. I think that's the newest piece that was done, is on that end.
so the work being proposed is on the Middleton end of Kings Highway, not the Wolfeboro end?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes, and I'll double check that, Terry, just to make sure with Matt that 2016 is in fact that piece there, the new piece.
Moving on to, just kind of moving along here a little bit. Guardrail also improvements, that's looking at 2017.
That'll be a 2017 withdrawal out of there. There's guardrail repair section, which is on Davis Crossing Road. And there is also a replacement of guardrail on Middleton Road. There's an unsafe section, 2 pieces there, both sides of the road. It needs to be replaced there as well. We've obtained quotes from vendors. It's within the parameters in which I can authorize for the expenditure, but that would be coming out of the CRF under the road projects. For that.
So basically, the 2017, obviously 2016 is already covered and taken care of in terms of financial part of it. 2017 is your total estimate with a contingency is 326,000.
Correct.
It's a lot of change. And that includes the guardrail or no?
That includes guardrail, chip sealing out of there as well.
Okay.
Yep.
And so, as we recall, I think it was 330,000.
330 is road surface, there's the road project.
Right, so we're in that budget, so I think we're all set, right?
Yeah, I mean,
What do you need from us?
The only thing I would like to have you sign tonight is I did a letter up in regards to what was voted at the last meeting relative to the paving contract extension.
This has already been done, it's just a matter of signing.
Yeah, just signing the letter for the same amount as what was contracted last year. Our estimate comes in a little bit less on our estimate, but the vendor may be slightly higher, so that's the reason why I had to continue.
Do you need a motion?
No, it's already done.
No, you already-
Last week,
you already
done last meeting, I mean.
I was just supposed to do it, and
All right.
I just got it done.
Okay,
Minor comment I made on the road.
okay.
I just want to point out that the road I live on, which is Brackett Road, is in excellent condition. The only thing is that I have observed that my attention is the ditching on the south end of before you get to the intersection.
Yes. Yeah,
Eating away at the road a little bit.
just if I can, Mr. Chairman, Matt did indicate that there, in 2018 or 2017, we had always talked about if there was funds available in the road project account, we can do more than what we've forecasted. We would do things to support what the next year's
Right.
work was gonna be.
Right.
Matt did indicate that below the south side of Penny Lane, I guess I'll call it, as a reference, does need to have ditch work done as well. There's a few more trees and a couple.
You would need to do that anyway, would you not?
Yes, we would do that.
You need to do that whether you're paving it or not?
There's no doubt any improvements would be done in both situations, but definitely if you're gonna, before you would pave.
Well, the issue I have with paving is that I don't see the criteria for why that road may be chosen over another gravel road. So I'd like to see the criteria that was used for choosing that.
Yeah, and I'll be able to show you that.
To ensure that, all the ones that are on gravel roads have been, appropriately addressed, A, and then B, that dollar amount doesn't jive with the engineering report that I recall seeing last year. So I'd like to see some understanding of how that jives.
Yeah, I think you were given figures preliminarily before you had an engineer, put those to those, to.
But we don't have anything new from that.
No.
So
No.
those are the best information we have from an engineer.
Right.
Even though I was opposed to spending the $5,000 for that study, that's what it came up to be.
Well, unfortunately, that's what we do in government, is that we don't.
That's not what we do.
Well, I say unfortunately, just because many years I've watched, because whether it be the public or the board would like to have somebody of a professional nature go out and quantify or qualify maybe some statements which were made. And I think you probably received from, whether it be your old road agents or other people that have some experience. I mean, I think I gave you, $1 million a mile, if in fact you're gonna reconstruct and rebuild, type of thing there, that potentially is what it can cost. I've spent a little bit of time now, I've been here a year, and I've been on some of these roads and gotten a little bit of a sense as to what they are. And probably one of your better gravel roads is in fact Brackett Road. And, Matt, of course, with his 20 or close to 20 years of experience of grading them all, knows that a little bit more gravel here and there and compaction and getting everything ready, ditches and otherwise, it would be a low-cost candidate versus a road which has high traffic and high volume, like Middleton Road, for an example, which clearly, would make a better situation.
See, the argument could go either way. The argument could go, given that Brackett Road is relatively good gravel road, the effort should be focused on something that's more needed.
True, very expensive.
I understand that.
To get accomplished would take many years based upon your funding scheme.
And again, those numbers don't jive with the engineering
Oh,
information
no,
we have.
some of
So
them,
before you move anywhere near that, I'd like to see that addressed.
I don't know how you want me to address it, I'll give you.
You have an engineering study that says, I think on average, it wasn't Brackett Road per se, but as on average, actually you were wrong, it wasn't a million, it was $1.2 million
Yeah,
on average.
well, the engineer always has 20%.
Well, I'm just saying that
Every time
you were wrong, it was 1,200,000, not that you were wrong, but you underestimated by.
I guarantee you, I can
Quarter million.
rebuild your roads a lot cheaper than
I understand,
the engineers.
but the point that I'm making here is that you have engineering estimates, which are from professionals that the town paid for, which don't jive with those numbers. I need to understand why the difference.
I'll provide you a nice estimate.
And if you're going to pay for it out of your check, that's okay.
That's right, but I won't hire an engineer to do that type of.
Yeah, no, I understand.
I mean,
What I'm
there's certain
saying
things
is,
that can be
what
done.
I'm saying is that you can estimate at $200,000, but it comes out to $1,300,000, the town's stuck. So I want to have this thing resolved before we make any decisions on which road to go on, from a dirt to a paved.
Yeah, and once again, that's entirely up to you folks, where you want to put your money.
Sure.
My
Well,
thing
I'm
is
just giving
trying
you
to
the
get
heads
the
up.
most bang for your buck, that's all.
I'm giving you the heads up of what I would need to see before I could support anything like
Well, I
that.
can tell you, I won't be hiring an engineering firm in order to get you those numbers.
I probably wouldn't want to pay $5,000 twice. We already paid $5,000.
We're on the same page.
Yeah.
Did the engineering study give a detailed analysis of what it was going to take to rebuild the road? Or
No,
are
they-
they using their historical data
Yeah,
to
look-
say per mile charge?
Yeah, I mean, basically what they did was they basically did a windshield survey and
Okay.
took some, input data from staff. They didn't do any test borings or test pits or any of that. And a lot of the stuff you can tell from characteristics of the road, where you're gonna end up having additional expenses in drainage and, tree removal, and a lot of the big infrastructure is in fact sub-based, what the material is down below. I mean, if you drive Middleton Road, where the wet pockets are and where the wet areas are and where the other areas have got rocks coming up through them and in that area. And then there's other roads that you drive and they're in relatively good shape, although there may be a hidden, Mother Nature can tell you an awful lot of attributes of the road. And if there's an area of question, then you end up having to do the exploratory work, which is relatively inexpensive.
Okay, 2017, I think we're all set, if I understand correctly. Just as I said, I'd like the priority looked at for 2018, in case the town does have a windfall from the state.
Yeah.
Again, it could be zero.
And I'm also hoping that, we'll have that RSMS report that may be able to be there to help support that for planning purposes going
Okay.
into the capital.
Okay. Next.
Next item on there is the police department's request to do an internal posting for the full-time officer position. In accordance with the hiring policy on procedure number 2, as I read it, it looks to me, right now it says internal and external, and I would ask that you approve the request to post it internally first for 10 days, or well in advance of the time period in which the budget was forecasted to hire such a person. And if there is
Do
somebody...
you have the policy wording with you?
I did not bring it down.
That, my understanding was covered under that.
Yeah, I reviewed it after we spoke, and I did see that it was clear that it could be just internal by a decision by the department head. So it says both. It says internal, external.
Doesn't say and or.
It says and. And a lot of towns did that because they wanted to maximize, to see what their field of applicants were going to be. And if you're under crunch, there's no doubt posting it both ways is a quick way to get things out. But if you have time and you've had individuals within the agency that have expressed interest and have meet the qualifications, then it may be worthy of doing that and saving you the expense if in fact those candidates are worthy.
I'm in favor.
I'd like to see the wording on the policy.
I'm gonna have to get it for this one.
Why don't we come back at it? We'll come back at it later on the agenda. Let's continue on the agenda, we'll come back at it. Okay. The next item is something I asked to be put on. I believe that we have been very fortunate with our select board in being able to address the business that was needed for the town and provide some much needed modifications to what have been going on, and that it's to a point where I think we might be able to, for the summer months, be able to work once a month. What's the thought, board?
It's fine with me, as long as we're continuing to be informed with information from Scott, and that we can, if we need, we schedule.
Obviously, if there's an emergency or a personnel issue or something that come up, that would be something that we would call a meeting for, a special meeting for.
I agree. I'd like to, I think it's a good idea to go to once a month, as long as we hold an option, you know, to call a meeting,
Right.
should we need.
Then we fulfill the notices from the right to know.
Yeah.
So, once a month, okay. My suggestion, and I don't know if you read your packet, Scott had commented about the second week. I would prefer not to do that. I prefer to have it either the first or the third, just to keep it on a regular schedule, that when we come back, if and when we come back to 2 meetings a month, we still have the first and third. So I prefer to keep it either the first or the third.
First or third, Thursday?
Yeah,
Thursday or Wednesday?
Thursday. Well, we are Thursday now. I'm open to a suggestion. I know the budget committee is sort of, we had our opportunity for Wednesday before the budget committee. I think the budget committee is kind of reserved Wednesdays now.
Let's stick with Thursday then.
And preference for first or third?
I have a preference, so first is fine with me.
What's
Scott, your schedule, I know we talked briefly, your schedule is such that June, the third Thursday is not good for you.
Right, yes, I have a
the-
municipal managers conference, Keene, so
Yeah.
I'll be gone the third, the 14th,
So
15th.
maybe the first Thursday would be.
That's fine with me. So you're talking June, July, and August?
So it'll be June 1st, July 6th, and August 3rd. Right?
And then would there be a second meeting in August?
I'm not sure we need anything until September. Again, it's dependent upon if the board feels that it's not working, we obviously have a second meeting. But, so we said June 1st, July 6th, and August 3rd, right? And again, I will comment publicly that I'm very appreciative of the board
Well,
we have, because I think, as I said, we have done the business that needed to be done. The homework's done, and I think we need to continue that process to make sure we achieve our goals, which is going to be on the next agenda item. And the next agenda, by the way, should be the goals for the Board of Selectmen. But I'm very appreciative of the board's willingness to work and to do the business of the town.
we have been meeting several times a week on average.
This is true, but I think that rush is over. There will be a rush in the fall for budget, probably a couple meetings a week or a couple months, but again, depending on how the budget process goes. But
Well, we'll see about that. Some of us still have a job to go to. And the
just
life.
give you fair warning.
Well, that's why I have really wanted Wednesday, but,
Well, as I said, we had that opportunity.
yeah.
We lost
We're
that.
gonna revisit it.
We lost that.
Oh, we lost it
We
when
lost
we
that
decided
opportunity.
to revisit it. Okay.
Now, that's why I said, that's why I brought it up at the time, that, you know, no budget had been. If now we want to go Wednesday, we should do it now before the first budget meeting, but we didn't do that, so that's okay. I don't have a problem with
And
it.
the only budget meeting that's scheduled is August 2nd.
Well, it becomes an issue in the fall, when they meet once a week.
True. Yeah, when they go into their budget cycle in fall, then they will be on Wednesdays. I mean, that's what they historically have been. It doesn't mean
Yeah, it doesn't
They
happen
don't have
until
to.
October, actually.
October, yeah. By the time we get done with our
Yeah.
stuff, it's generally latter.
Okay. Next item, revaluation CRF account closure. With the public hearing tonight, um, which ratifies all of the other non-elected official warrant articles. The warrant article for closing the revaluation CRF did pass. I think it passed by 2 votes, if I remember. Nevertheless, that is a pass. However, and there's something on the, Scott, you have the exact, 156,000, was it?
Correct.
In that CRF, which basically is an unanticipated revenue to the town. Because we would not have known, and we did not budget for that revenue because we would not have known the outcome of the vote before the vote was taken. Therefore, one additional piece. We are committed to a cyclical revaluation with costs approaching about $117,000 over the next 3 years, 4 years, something like that.
It's a total of the 5 years.
Yeah, but it's the net, yeah. We're already into part of it, and then,
We've already got year 1 into it.
Right.
Year 1 is $20,064.
right. So what I am suggesting is that given that we have anticipated revenue of $156,000, some odd change, this is exactly what, out of the closure of the revaluation CRF, that we encumber, since we already are under contract, and we would have anticipated this to come out of that CRF for revaluation, at least in the amount of $117,000.
Yeah, I think there's a couple different components there. You are under a contract. I mean, the board signed the contract with the appraisal company to do that work. And first and foremost, in my memo, as I wrote in my report, I indicated that this year's money, I anticipated when I put the budget together, and I think the board did at the time, was that we would be withdrawing that from the reevaluation account. So I gotta figure out what I was paid for that anyways, and I don't have that kind of money in the operating account, so.
So, what's the thoughts of the board?
So, can
sorry.
we encumber those funds? And how is that managed?
Yeah.
Well, we are, as we said, we are under contract, so I think we have the ability to encumber the funds. Why I'm strongly support this is that, should we not do that, there is a high likelihood that the tax rate would have to be raised to account for the increased budget for revaluation that was not in this year's budget or would have been in future budgets had the CRF remained.
Right. There's a couple of different ways. I mean, I think that, we just would have to do a little bit more, just double checking the DRA, but the way I understand it is that you could, in fact, do just as the chair mentioned, with the full encumbrance of the full amount based upon under the purview of the contract. And if by chance that's disallowed for that full amount, then I think you, by all due diligence, are certainly entitled to the $20,064 because that was unbudgeted, and now, I mean, you have the unanticipated revenue which can be used for that type of an application, I think anyways, on a sense of emergency, urgent emergency type of situation in that. So, and then you could always then take some of that money that is now revenue when you build your budget for next year, and you could then take a chunk of that to then do what you want to do in order to finish out the process.
Okay.
If you can do it all now,
Mhm.
it makes it a lot easier. It's less things to have to worry about, remember, and that. So, I mean, if it was a vote of the board to go in this direction, what I would do is then take that information, verify that we're all clear with DRA for that
Mhm.
purpose, so it can be recorded and put in the appropriate accounts by finance,
Mhm.
so it can be drawn upon, because it will still be getting invoiced.
Well, the key piece is that we are under contract. I mean, had we not been under contract,
I agree.
we would not have been as flexible to be able to do this.
So I'm assuming the DRA won't have a problem with that where we are under contract.
Generally, any encumbrance
Yeah.
is, as long as it's under a contract, it is allowable encumbrance based upon the binding of a contract.
So that's.
And I believe that can be done even with unanticipated revenue.
Okay.
Generally, what happens is, if in fact, say you had that money and you were under contract and the work wasn't completed, they allow you to carry it from one year to the next, or at least until the end of the contract. So I would just want to double check, and
Yep.
I always
So
like to
if,
do that.
if in fact we encumber those funds, we're then left with in excess of $35,000 in unanticipated revenue.
Correct.
Which is, and the only part that I think we would responsibly be able to encumber is about $120,000. So you still have $36,000 in unanticipated revenue that the board can choose to do as appropriate for the town.
Okay.
So any other discussion? I will make a motion to encumber, I'm gonna make it 120 because I think there are gonna be incidental other costs within the contract, quite frankly. So I'll just repeat, I'll make a motion to encumber $120,000 to fulfill the revaluation contract through 2021. And let me rephrase that a little bit. I want to rephrase that motion. Cross-country, right?
Yes. And you may want to make reference to the unanticipated.
Yeah, that's why I said I want to rephrase the motion. So I will make a motion to encumber $120,000 from the unanticipated revenue closure of CRF revaluation account to fulfill the existing revaluation contract with cross-country through the year 2021.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? It's carried 3-0. And as part of the discussion, Scott, you understand that you will be verifying that the approach is good. I would do legal first, perhaps.
I'll probably do,
I recognize DRA may need still making a decision. but
DRA
before you.
is the money people,
Yeah,
they're the ones that have to satisfy
okay.
on that.
Next up is the tax warrant. Everybody get the,
Oh, I have a copy of it.
the board took an action on the 15th? 15th, I think.
Yes, 50.
To allow the tax billing reconciliation process and meet the state requirement by May 15th to say that the Board of Selectmen has approved the collection of the taxes. Further information is going to be developed. So as a follow-up to that, at that time we didn't have an exact number, so we want to follow up with the exact number. So I will make a motion in the name of said state. You are directed to collect the taxes. Sorry, let me rephrase it. I'll make a motion to approve the tax collector's property tax warrant, which states as follows. In the name of said state, you are directed to collect the taxes in the list herewith committed to you, amounting in all to the sum of $4,639,526 and no cents. That's $4,639,526, with interest at 12% after 5th July in the year, 2017, that is July 5, 2017, and all sums not paid on or before that day. We further order that the tax collector shall remit all money collected to the town treasurer or town treasurer's designee as provided by RSA 41:29 Roman numeral 6, at least on a weekly basis or daily whenever tax receipts total $1,500 or more. And in accordance with RSA 76:13, interest due on taxes listed in property warrants committed to you that amounts to less than $2 may be waived if in your good judgment the tax involved does not warrant collection. So that's my motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? It is carried 3-0. So given under our hands, we'll seal it in the Durham this 18th day of May 2017 is what we will sign. That's all the properties. Okay. Next up. Ethics Committee training request.
As you have in your packet, you saw an email note that the chair had sent regarding a upcoming training and desire for the committee and other town officials, if they so choose, and it can be offered to them to attend through NHMA. And as I've indicated, I can support that request within my administration budget, as we did not, or I did not attend the New Hampshire Government Finance Officers Conference this year, so did not attend that, so that's a savings within the budget, so it would allow for that.
Just quickly, if I could make a statement of my understanding before that. The Ethics Committee is looking to schedule a training workshop, a person to come to New Durham.
Yes. Oh, they would? Oh,
Yes.
Yeah.
I apologize, I didn't know.
Okay, and then should that happen, I would suggest and strongly advise that we require all department heads and other public members of interest, but other employees of interest, but certainly require all department heads, and ask for all boards and commissions, et cetera, to attend if it goes forward. But is that my understanding? Okay, so sorry, I didn't interrupt, but I wanted to.
Not those best,
Yeah.
Well, originally, that wasn't our original intent, although I think it's an added benefit. Our original intent was a training session for the ethics committee. We have, in particular, 2 questions that we would like some guidance on. And in reviewing and looking at all the workshops, all the opportunities through the state, the one offered by NHMA, and the presenter that was clearly recommended was Margaret Burns. She's already been spoken to, she's willing to come. It's just outside our budget. So what we thought, to maximize, if we're asking for additional funds, we have brand new board members and certainly all department heads would, I think, value. She get some value from this workshop. She's going to tailor it to our ethics policy.
No, I know Margaret actually from some of the work I've done with NHMA. She is very good. So.
Yeah, I think that's great.
Anything else? This would be something that would be during the summer, or?
I think during the summer.
Okay.
Yeah, early summer.
Okay. Any thoughts on the board?
Sounds good.
Would it be an evening, or?
Well, I probably see if you're having department heads, is that okay for us to schedule it in the evening? I guess I would.
She would probably want to come during the day, I imagine, during her working hours.
Well, see, you're talking about boards and commissions, which
Also,
oftentimes have other jobs during the day. I'm actually pretty committed to training for employees in a rational manner. It has to be relevant and has to be usable in the job and all that, but I don't have a problem with that either. But I don't know what the rest of the board.
I think it's probably best to have it, to be perfectly honest with you, in the early evening, 7 o'clock or something like that.
Either way, you're paying for employees not to be working to attend, or would they be paid for attending? Or is it an
Yeah,
invitation?
Staff, if you required staff to attend, you would have to compensate.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
but the department heads, I think,
Probably mention on salaries.
I'm not saying that staff have to be required, but I do think the department heads should be required.
Yeah.
That's my opinion, that's not anything from the board, other than my opinion.
I think that that would be up to the ethics committee to schedule that with the input of Margaret Burns and,
Yeah, I mean, whatever she,
I think she's very flexible.
yeah, she's a great
And
lady.
very agreeable and really wants to make it something useful
Yeah.
in New Durham.
Scott, what you're saying, this is beyond the budget. I think the ethics committee, if I remember, had a $200
I think
budget.
we're only 200, and this is.
But what you're saying is your budget can take care of that training, given that it's a wider
Yeah.
spectrum of potential here?
Yeah.
Everybody okay with that? You okay with that?
When it's only couple $100, I can absorb some of those things, but when it's
$1.25 million is what I'm after, Scott.
20,000, I can't do it.
$1.25 million is what I'm after.
Can't do that one.
in training.
No. Reference back.
Oh.
No.
You need a formal motion on
No.
this? Pardon? You're okay with it? All right. I think, well, by consensus, I think the board is concurrent with going ahead on that training. Okay, while we're on the ethics thing, under old business, the ethics policy amendment.
You have in your packet the updated memo from the chair relative to the language.
Okay, I think the only change is in the section on the complaints, as you've noted. And that's on the back page, last page, section 6. And I think this basically was an input from our initial review of about a month or a month and a half ago.
And the copy you have is in fact the revised copy. And there's a date on it, today's date. There's no signature page, it just says revised date.
Do we need a
That should
motion
be-
to accept that?
Well, just quick, on the last page, it said adopted by the Ethics Policy Revision Committee December 27th, 2011. Revised, I'm assuming it was adopted by the Ethics Committee.
Yes.
So I would suggest you need to add that revised May 18th, 2017, and adopted by ethics, blah, blah, blah. Okay? Is it by the ethics committee? It wasn't the ethics revision committee, it was the ethics committee, right?
It was the ethics committee.
Right.
May 15th,
So adopted by the ethics committee,
May 15th.
yeah, it's May 16th, right?
15th.
15th, yeah.
15th.
So revised May 15th and adopted by the ethics committee.
This says revised May 18th.
I know, that was today's date. The ethics committee revised that May 15th. You're looking for a formal approval.
I'm looking for you to authorize the
Right.
policy.
So I think one
The
additional
committee, the
line.
committee can't make the policy. I mean, they can make it and give it to you, and then you approve it. That's why I did it as a
Yeah.
revised, 'cause
Yeah.
it's an original document that you're approving their revision, so.
Do
So I was-
all our policies, committee policies, have an adoption date on them?
And they have a revision date, yes. So I would suggest two lines, one line edited and then edit another line. You already have adopted by the Ethics Policy Review Committee December 27, 2011. And you have revised May 15th, 2017 and adopted by the Ethics Committee. And then if we approve, approved as revised May 18th, 2017 by the Board of Selectmen. by the New Durham Board of Selectmen.
Wouldn't you want to have the language that the Ethics Commission revised it on the 15th?
That's what I said.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's
I'm
a
sorry.
revised
We
May
not
15th.
adopted before, so I just was.
Well, they adopted it. Well, okay, you want to just say revised, okay.
Yeah.
That's what I would do.
Well,
That's just my recommendation.
okay. The issue is I want to make sure that it's clear that they do have a formal vote and it was formally acted on.
I mean, the minutes do
I,
reflect that.
and I would, the minutes would reflect it.
Okay. All right,
It's in our
I'm okay with
minutes.
that. So to say revised May 15th, 2017 by the Ethics Committee, and then approved as revised May 18th, 2017, if we so chose to do that on the board, New Durham Board of Selectmen. And again, normally you don't need that last line necessarily, but I would like to have it there. Terry, you had something?
I was just thinking of language because I've written policies and what we, in some of my other stuff, use is revised and approved by the Ethics Committee, XYZ date, and then the next line would be approved by the Board of, or Ethics Committee revisions approved by the Board of Selectmen on XYZ date.
With those two lines, I think we're okay. Okay, everybody okay with the change?
Yes.
We have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the Town of New Durham Ethics Policy as revised by the Ethics Committee
And
and amended.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? It's carried 3-0.
Thank you. Thank you. How long did that take?
Not going there. Ethically, I'm not going there. How's that? Okay, next up. Tax deeded properties. You have a list of the current listing of tax deeded properties. And I think there are two areas here, right? Yeah. So, do the tax deeded properties first. I went through this just to give the public a little bit of history, and as well as some of the board here, which may not have that history. In 2014, we began, as Terry knows, we began this process. And at that time, I think we had $1.3 million of tax-owned property. And that board of 2014 spent considerable time and effort in reviewing those properties that were available for potential sale, recognizing there's state laws of how much time has to pass, et cetera, before a town can make a decision on to sell or not. And took several actions. There are, and then it was kind of put on a hiatus for a variety of reasons. But it was re-upped in 2016 and some properties were sold. However, the town report of 2016, that came out in 2017, had a listing of something on the order of $800,000 of value. And when I went through the list, it was apparent that it may not have been all of the actions that were done in 2014 had been fully recorded. And so we went through a process, and the tax collector and town clerk have been very, very helpful and very, very cooperative in looking and trying to get this list as correct as it could be. There are, what you have in front of you is the current list that they have, which is, just for public purposes of information, is currently valued at $313,510. There are two major issues that I still have, which I'm working with the tax collector and the town clerk and the town administrator on, and that is that one of the merged properties, based on what I can see, may not have been, may have been more merged than it should have been merged. In other words, I think there is one property that has 4 prior sold lots, which really should have only had 2, and then another Birch property should have 2. So I'm working on that for some detail. And then there's a second question in that, while I do understand fully that a merged property is not the sum of total of value of 2 unmerged properties, because that's just not how valuation would work. I am concerned that in many cases, even with the new revaluation, which would lower it some, but in many cases, the merged property is less than a single lot pre-merge. And for me, that is of concern. So I'm working through some of that with the town clerk and the town tax collector and Scott, the town administrator. There are some questions that I have for the assessor, which I have not yet formulated to him, but they relate to what I've just described. I have formulated them to those 3 individuals that I described before. All that's going around about by saying I'm not ready, in my opinion, to go through this and say, here's our list, let's make decisions tonight. But I want you to be aware of the issues that we're working with, but also be prepared that hopefully by the June, what do we say, 2nd? Is that the next meeting? That this will be on the agenda item, and this will be, understood enough to be able to have a final list. It's not going to be $500,000, but it could be, 330 to 340 instead of 313 or something like that. But so
I've already marked out at least 4 properties here that clearly there was something wrong with the assessed value.
Right.
So I'll send this, and I know.
I have at least 4 sets, so it may be the same 4. But
yeah. So
Is it a current use value?
well, that's the only thing I can think of, and some of them, I mean, they're just astronomically low, and it really should not, in this situation, as a tax deed property, it should not be looked at as a current use property.
Right.
It should be looked at a full value property
I
for full
agree.
use, if in fact, unless it has some other type of
I agree.
stipulation.
And a couple of originals were in current use, as Terry may remember. So the point here is that if you allow a little bit of leeway from a timing point of view until June 2nd to get this list in a format that I think it will be complete at that point, I would suggest a fairly aggressive approach from that point on to try to get that sold either through fire sale or auction or whatever it is we choose to do. Again, keeping in mind that assessed value is not going to be town revenue anyway because the town owns it. So the town's not losing any tax revenue on this because the town already owns it.
And I did reattach the folks that have continued to be actively seeking, information and progress
Interest.
relative to the abutter situation. I have kept in touch with them just to say, it is on the agenda, it's still being evaluated and looked at by the board, and I would expect that there would be future progress.
Can we see another column on here? This assessed value is what they are currently assessed at, but fair market value.
That's tough.
Yes, it's
So-
tough to get the fair market value on them.
That's tough.
You generally end up taking the assessed, that they use the assessed value.
Well, if we're going with assessed value, then it needs to be changed from,
There do need to be 2 more columns. One is penalty and one is interest. And then a third column called total, which is the summation of those. So there does need to be, but yeah, we went through the same thing in 2014, is that we would like to know what the market value is and all that. Really wasn't something that could be done.
It's pretty tough.
Some of the properties, the amount that was owed through back taxes and interest was in some cases $5,000 to $8,000 more than the assessed value.
Yeah.
And we eventually bit the bullet and say, let's sell as much as we can and get what we can and get it back on the tax rolls.
Now, the flip side of that is that I think in Durham is something around 100%.
yeah.
99,
You're in the high
100, whatever it is, but it's very, very close. Yeah, it's very, very close to 100%. So
And I understand that, but the properties that are listed here that are obviously in current use, we need to make some kind of judgment on an actual value rather than the current use value.
I agree.
Yeah,
I
those
agree
need
with
to
that.
be changed.
But yeah, I agree with that.
I'm gonna ask the contract assessor to relook at these.
Okay.
And I'll also, for your June 1st packet, I'll have maps and then the map and lot cards.
When is he gonna be coming in to do that?
I believe he is in next week.
Could you arrange for me to meet with you and he?
I believe, yeah, I'll double check on the date. I wanna say it's next Thursday. I think that's the 25th.
Yeah, today's 18th, so.
Yeah, so,
So if you could arrange and let me know
but I'll double check. to see
time
what-
and date for that, I'd like to meet with you and he, I'll go through that. Okay.
Mr. Chair?
So if the board will be a little bit leeway in terms of moving ahead with that and tell Jim, but be prepared for rather aggressive. We'll get out the new list as soon as we have it, but be prepared for
Mr. Chair?
aggressive decision. Yes,
You might want to revisit 250-016.
250 you said?
Yes, 250-016, it's 246, about 6 or 7 from the bottom.
Yeah, I see it.
Mhm.
It's on Main Street, there is no building there anymore.
That's true.
So I'm not sure if the assessed value
That's
is.
the one we acted on for the access to the road, to the river.
Is there a shed there?
Yeah, we can't do anything with that anyway, so. That's a 2016 tax lien, so we'll have to, it really should be real.
That's not available for any action until
19.
2019.
But
Yeah, but you're right, it still needs correcting.
Exactly.
Okay.
Is there a shed still on the building?
Yes,
Is there?
A shed?
yes,
Yeah,
there
there may
is.
still be a shed,
Yeah.
yeah.
In fact, there's a couple of structures, one of them is, I think, a metal one.
Which you could loosely call a building,
Yes.
yes.
Yeah.
Okay, next item related is the tax deed property policy. Sale of town property policy. I think Scott took my, again, these are more or less what we went through at the last meeting. And the first page, I think, is the accepted version of that, if everyone accepts those changes, and the next one shows you where the changes were.
Okay, just a quick note. There's nowhere on here that said revised when.
Not in here,
No, because you never
because
had
this is new.
We never have one.
Right. You can see the chart is what I've indicated, the penalty and interest in total. What's the other? I don't know what the other is. I think I had it, but I'm not sure why we need to.
Oh, on the column?
Yeah.
That could be where the,
I think I put that in, if we were going to do
Why couldn't they get
penalties, interest, total, oh, that, I left that there as a, you know, if it was gonna be recommended for sale. You know how we
Why
have.
couldn't you do that in the comments?
You could, no, I just left it.
I mean, that's, no, I didn't remember it here, that's why.
Yeah,
Okay.
probably when I checked the Excel thing there, I picked too many boxes, so I said, well, I will fill it with my column.
Any other changes or other,
No.
differ with anything that we have gone over before or I'm suggesting? If not, I'll look for a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve the sale of town property policy as presented,
On today's date.
May 18th, 2017.
I'll second that. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, those opposed, it's carried 3-0. Yep, he's got it on here. Okay, next up, we have Select Board Operational Guidelines, and I think the same approach there is, well, you handed those out, right?
Yeah,
Like in the box or
I
something?
printed out the track changes for that, and I did not print out a clean copy, just, I figured this one did not have a signature, oh, it did have one, I should have printed one out, but I can put it up there for your signature after.
You have what, did you say?
I forgot, this one did have a signature block on it,
Yeah.
but I can put it up, I can.
And there are, you know, Appendix A is still blank, and Appendix A is still blank, because that was just revised and needs to be added, and Appendix C, we just approved tonight, so that will be added to that.
Right. Yeah, put the new one in.
And again, I think this more or less notes were, oh, no, I take that back. I did add some additional things on this. Small wording stuff, like under B, instead of just taking the whole thing under appendix, I put a explanatory paragraph under page 3B, which is that red
Oh,
part,
okay.
you see, you know. It's very similar to what that was there, but I did it just as a placeholder and referenced appendix D. So, you know, a couple of things like that. Good changes. And then on page, there is a difference also. On page 8, instead of disqualifications, I call it recusing. For some reason, I have a semantic aversion to disqualification on this. Recusing is what I'm always used to using.
I like
I
that.
think in the, yeah, I think it's clearer, but I believe in the RSA when it talks about, it does talk about disqualification, but recusing is probably more commonly used, and I think I've got to use that.
Well, also, we've had a few times when I or others have recused themselves. In this stage, you have to get up and leave the chair.
You leave the table, yeah, but you go forward to the audience.
I think
That's very common.
But we haven't done that. There's a couple of times I've had to recuse myself because I wasn't on the board.
No, abstaining is different than recusing. Yeah, abstaining is only, yeah, abstaining is fine, you can stay here. Recusing is where you have a conflict of interest, and you indicate that, in your opinion, there's an ethics issue if you're not participating in the vote.
I was just getting it wrong.
Any, you want to take an action, you want time to review it and come back at it next time, or what?
Well, I thought it was fine.
I think it's fine. I'll make a motion to approve the select board operational guidelines as amended.
One
Second?
One second.
Now I'll get you a signature one, and leave it at that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, those opposed? It is carried 3-0.
We need to go back to the,
So, Scott, you want to, can you get the hiring policy?
Yep.
Please? We do need to go into an
good, because I've been up since quarter after 4 stacking wood. It's the end of my day.
It's a good ending, huh?
Yeah.
While you're on break, and I didn't have a chance to.
We're not officially on break. We
Oh,
started.
well, okay, while you're waiting for someone,
There you
okay,
go.
or for some more information. In the policy, does it require someone to state the reason why they are recusing themselves, or just are recused?
This wasn't a policy on recusing, this was more of the operational thing. If you recuse, this is what you do.
But is there any requirement to state the reason why?
I don't think. No, they can just indicate that there's a recusal.
Okay.
And I'm not sure if it's appropriate to require the reason.
I was
always.
just curious
Yeah.
as to whether or not they.
I mean, you know, there are times where it may not be the best to have that person indicate that.
I'm gonna give you this one.
I'll give it back to you.
That's the one, that's the 14 one. We just redid it, but we didn't change anything relative to subsection 2 of procedure.
So I'll just read the pertinent section of the policy. The opening is posted internally and externally concurrently with applications accepted for a maximum of 10 days. So it doesn't have to be 10 days, there's a maximum of 10 days, which fits with what I want to do. I was going to suggest we not go 10 days. The department head may request that the board of selectmen accept applications for a longer period of time. Possible locations of advertisements include blah, blah. All qualified employees that apply for the position shall be interviewed.
Well,
So it
does
says,
the word concurrently mean that he can't separate it out?
That is correct.
That's the reason why I brought it.
Yeah.
'Cause I-
The original question was, can you post it internally? And
you can.
yeah, of course you can. And that's what I was originally, and then came back with a question, that can you post it ahead of time, internally or externally? And according to the policy, you cannot.
Well, I'd like to relook at that, because there's no reason why we can't do a
Thank you.
minimal 3-day internal posting before going outside.
Yeah, I don't have any problem doing it. I would suggest not revising the policy, or actually, I think you should follow the policy for a lot of different reasons. I think you should follow the policy if you have in hand. That doesn't preclude you from accepting internal candidates.
Absolutely.
But I would suggest that instead of 10 days, you make it 7 business days. Or 7 days, actually 7 days, I think is fine.
I think there are cases where you'll have an internal candidate that maybe has been really groomed for a certain position, and I think we're wasting advertising money. Sorry, Rod.
I don't think they ever paid me enough anyway.
Probably not.
Okay, I'm sorry.
So, when we go through the next revision of that policy, I would like to take that word concurrent.
I have no problem with looking at that policy on the scenario. It's very common business practice to post internally before you go outside. I have no problem looking at it. I'm just suggesting that we do not waver from the policy on this particular.
In this case, I
approach
agree.
For a lot of different
It
reasons.
shouldn't really affect his
Right.
selection.
So having said that, the next issue is, it is budgeted from July 1. Doesn't mean the board has to, or the hire has to happen then, but it is budgeted. So the question is, well, what does the board wish to do?
In favor, give them the opportunity to do it, but I guess I don't want to change the policy until we get a chance to do it formally.
You mean post position?
Posted both externally and internally.
Yeah.
But I would suggest, it says max, so it doesn't have to be 10, I'm suggesting 7. You could even make it 5 business days.
Okay, just so I'm clear, we're gonna post it both.
Right.
Mhm.
You're gonna do one time period for internal.
No. It doesn't say anything about that. It says a maximum 10 days.
So where do we post externally?
Website, generally on the Baysider. For a police officer one, I would probably go wider, broader, go to Seacoast Media.
If we're
Is
doing it,
that what it's called now?
Yes.
if we're doing it online, I think probably 5 days is sufficient, but if we're doing it in print,
Yeah.
5 days is not probably gonna even get it into the
Yeah, I
newspaper.
mean, we generally do most of them 2 weeks at a minimum, like the last one I just did for the
You can't go 2 weeks.
Huh?
Policy doesn't allow you to go 2 weeks. It says maximum 10 days. Now, when they have to
Is it
respond, when they have to respond is different.
The question is the deadline for the newspapers.
Yeah, I think the 10 days is in fact in order to get it so it hits the weekly.
Yeah.
But I don't
Let's make sure you understand the terminology, at least from my interpretation. You post it for, according to the policy, a maximum of 10 days. That doesn't mean that they only have 10 days to respond.
No.
You define in the posting when the response has to happen.
in my advertisements, I say when the review period is going to begin, and it's open until filled. Now granted, it only stays alive basically in a web situation.
I think the wording is good, by the way.
You know, it's,
But I don't favor 10 days, you know.
A posting then, if you're posting a position for 10 days, then that position is open applications for 10 days.
No. The policy says, again, we'll bring up the policy because we'll use the exact words. The policy says posting to a maximum of 10 days. It does not require when that response has to be there from the applicant. You define that in the posting. And Scott's terminology of until filled, I think, is appropriate.
Your 10 days are different as well. If you wanted to, you could post it tomorrow on the website, but it wouldn't get into publication for 2 or 3 days.
That's correct.
So your 10 days on the website would be up before your 10 days are up.
Possibly. Oh, before the, well, yeah, that's true. Although, one could argue that, as an example, in a daily newspaper, that when it appears, has to be within that 10 days. It doesn't have to be 10, it doesn't have to appear 10 days in a row after
That
that.
would be a good way to
that
look at
policy needs to be revised, a maximum, to say a maximum of 10 days on there is
Yeah.
problematic.
Well, there's two things that we know we
The
want to
opening
change.
is posted
I'm
internally
not suggesting
and
you do that.
externally concurrently with applications accepted for a maximum of 10 business days.
So that means that you're only going to
Period.
collect them for 10 days.
No.
So what that does, it doesn't mean that you can't re-up it again, but that just is one more step of
Right.
And it
process.
doesn't matter if it gets into print.
And I'm saying that you don't have to go 10 days either.
No.
Because it says max. So,
I would recommend to the board in this circumstance, based upon that policy, is for you to, I'm okay with boards making good conscience decisions to waive a segment of the policy for a specific purpose. And I think in this situation, to waive it for the purposes of, in the first instance, to allow the town or the department to post it internally for 7 days or 10 days, whatever the board agrees, prior to making the second decision as to whether or not they want to entertain those applicants as the first screening process. It may come back that you may say, I think that the board may come back to the chief and say, we're gonna post it now out.
you know, I understand your point, but I do not favor it.
Okay.
I mean, I understand your point, and in a new policy, we would cover that, but I'm not in favor of it for a variety of reasons.
Well, I know there's that political aspect in the past, and that the board has been, pointed at by, not following policy. But I think there's a difference between not following policy and then consciously vetting and making a decision to waive and be able to put it out so that everybody understands the transparency of the decision which you're making. You're not trying to do it to favor anybody or otherwise, and it's not an uncommon practice to post some things internally first. And generally, they all come, as a police chief, I used to go to my board of selectmen back in my day even and say, before we advertise this out and spend the expense, I'd like to post it inside. Happened a lot with promotional type things, but it happened with internal as well, when you had good candidates from within.
Well, again, if this was a time of the essence issue, understand that, again, time is not of the essence here.
So I would post it for the 10 days as per the policy. That in the policy states the position is posted for 10 days. We accept applications during that 10-day period. There is no distinction between electronic postings and print posting. If that print posting doesn't get in to the newspaper until day 7, there's only 3 days left on that posting.
Yeah.
I just go with it, I feel like I'm throwing money out the window. But
I agree.
Well, no, again, let's make sure we understand the policy. The policy does not require you to have it in print.
yes, it does.
No, it
No,
does
it
not.
says, that's what I was just gonna say, it's
Thought it said in that third or fourth paragraph.
include but are not limited to.
Could include, but not limited.
Oh, well, that's even better.
Right. So,
I apologize. I thought.
you know, I don't have to go 10 days, but I favor the second part of that.
Short of a waiver, that's one way around it.
Then
Just quick, let me do a couple, I don't think we have to go 10 days, but I don't have a problem if everybody wants to go 10
It
days.
doesn't say, you're
So
right.
this is max,
It just says maximum 10 days.
but if it's felt that 10 days would be the best, I don't have a problem. Again, time's not of the essence, 10 days is still okay, I think, so we're not a problem there. I'm just indicating that you don't have to go 10 days.
So you saw the notice and the posting, and I'll put it on the town floor.
And you would use, and Scott, your wording, I think, was excellent in terms of intel field. The phraseology you used, I think that's appropriate to have in your posting.
what was that phrase again that you said?
That review begins on, generally we put a review date, when that review date would
Right.
start. That kind of entices people to get their stuff in, and that it's open until filled.
Right.
So
We're not accepting applications though,
Not after such and such a date,
not
Yes.
after the 10th.
not after 10 days.
I know.
And this is, the way that you have this right now, and the way that actually we'll have to change the policy, because I've been posting everything in violation of the policy. Because I've posted the DPW positions, and it's not a 10-day window,
From the date,
right?
for when they have to get their stuff in?
No, it's longer than that, it's at least 2 weeks.
Okay, well, okay.
Because I want to run.
What you said is you're in violation, what you've gone is over the 10 days. is what
Gone
you're saying.
over the 10 days.
Yeah.
10 business days.
Yeah, you haven't come short of done.
Yeah, that's it. Probably on the business day thing, I'd probably be okay.
Oh.
It does say 10 business days, so,
Okay.
so you actually you're okay, usually.
I'm okay.
I think you're okay.
Yeah.
You're not in violation as much as you used to.
Well,
Okay,
I
anyway,
don't mind admitting my
all
fault.
right, let's work this one. So from following the policy, we're saying that if we move ahead, the posting would go on the website potentially tomorrow. So we're using the phraseology you said, be up for 10 days, at which time it closes and, or actually acceptance of the applications until opening, until the field, I should say, then, right?
No, according to the way the policy's written, I'll have to put in the end of the 10 days.
Right.
So it'll be 10 working days from tomorrow.
That's the 29th, right?
Keep in mind there's a holiday there, keep in mind there's a holiday
Just
there,
get the
so,
29th.
Okay, so that would be
yeah, keep in mind there's a holiday, so I don't think that is.
really 2 full weeks plus tomorrow.
Well, you can't count the holiday as your business day.
That's right. So you get 2 full weeks plus tomorrow.
So you'll be due
I don't know if you can count tomorrow, because I'm not gonna put it on 8 o'clock, right? You can put it on,
so there's people out there watching, what time you post things for jobs. I can't even get people to apply for jobs.
Yeah, I know.
I think everybody in America.
So basically, it closes the 5th of June.
5th if it's up tomorrow.
I didn't count tomorrow because I don't think you're gonna get up at 8
Is it
o'clock.
5th Monday or Tuesday?
So I started counting Tuesday, but I don't count Memorial Day. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So you got
I'm
5 plus 4 is 9, and the 10th is the 5th, so it's close of business Tuesday. Oh, sorry, Monday on the 5th. Okay? All right, so we still have to take an action here, if whatever the board's feeling is. I think we're fully following policy into that scenario. Just to look at the draft of the wording of the position. And you're gonna add your Intel field comment here.
No, I can't do that.
This is the posting, right?
Yeah, no, it can't be, that can't be done. I'll have to write a whole new one. Because now, since it's a public ad, it's not internal. So it's,
I don't know why.
and it has to have the end date on
Yeah, it's June 3rd. Instead of May 29th, it's June 5th.
it. Right.
Close of business.
As far as it staying open though, it wouldn't stay open beyond the 10 days unless you extend it.
Yeah, no, applications and resumes will be due on,
Close of business.
close of business June 5th.
I don't know why you would change that.
Yeah, it was,
Okay, so the board still has to take a decision on this.
I will make a motion to post the full-time position of police officer for a 10 business day period ending at the close of business June 5th.
We have a second?
A second.
I think we certainly open to further discussion, but I think we probably beat it to death. Anything else that we need to talk about?
It's been beat to death.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? It's carried 3-0. You taking that from me, Scott?
yeah. Oh, is that yours?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I mean, if you need it, you can have it.
Nope.
The only thing is.
No, I have mine here,
Do you
I
need
just
this
don't
one?
know what it's right here, I got it right here.
I just changed.
I got mine right here.
Changed the date. All right,
You can have mine, I wrote them.
So-
You just trying to get rid of paper.
Yeah,
we have
I know you.
3 sets of minutes, although there are 4 listed, and we did the ones you said's not ready. And a non-public. Would you like to do the minutes first or the non-public first?
The minutes are pretty straightforward.
Yeah,
Okay.
I need the minutes.
We have 2 sets of minutes and non-public to do.
So, you want to do,
And we'll still be out by 10, by the way.
It's 9 o'clock.
I know, we'll still be out by 10.
oh, yeah.
He's looking for 9:30.
We have a non-public yet.
You want to do the 17th
That
first?
wasn't
Whatever you want.
advertised.
17th is short and sweet, but they haven't been looked at for a track change, so it may be,
You have I gave you my copy, right?
not on the 17th, you didn't, because I just typed them.
Oh,
The
okay.
17th is just opening and closing, basically, non-public session, which transpired yesterday morning. I already go back, catch that. I already got the second selectman on Cecile Chase,
Yeah,
so I got that one.
you're using the form, I see.
What's that?
You're using the form.
Yeah, I used actually her last 7 minutes. She keeps missing it too.
What we need to record on the public side of this under the roll call, the board left public session at 9:01 a.m.
Left.
Yeah, crossed out, entered non. We didn't enter the non-public until I
Left public session.
Yeah, left public session at 9:01.
Yep. Re-entered
Yep. With that, I'm okay.
public session.
I'll make a motion to approve the public minutes of May 17th, 2017. as amended.
Second.
Further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, it carries 3-0. Okay, next.
May 4th. Those have those have track changes?
Yes. I hate to get into grammatical issues because I don't think that's what minutes are for. However, under appointments and announcements, Mr. Jelinek was looking for, not to.
Where are you? What line?
After the discussion.
Fifth one.
Oh,
2,
looking
3, 4, 5. Mr. Lyons looking for
3 related requests, take out 2.
They were looking for 3 related requests, not 2.
No, it is 2. Either way, it's fine.
Okay.
Either way, that's fine.
Two English papers.
Okay. It's all wrong missing, maybe. There's another change on page 4 to the grammatical side. Didn't read what I changed. Second line up from the bottom on page 4, cross out the word A, third word from the right.
Second line up from the bottom?
Yeah, cross out the word A, the third word from the right.
Gotcha.
3 times, I've just done with
Page 8?
Page 8. Selectman Chase made a motion to change the name of the room attached to the back of the fire department building to the New Durham Community Room with a plaque. So it sounds as if we're changing the name with a plaque that says dedicated to. So what we want is a sign that with a New Durham Community Room sign.
The only concern I have, you may want to do this as a discussion point. The issue I have, and it's a experiential bias. That motion is as the motion was stated, and I don't, you should try to go back to see what the motion was. In the discussion, you should add, I think, what you did. What I'm saying here is that I want to be a little bit careful here. The town has seen some minutes that have not always been as accurate as they could be. And we went through that over the last couple of years. And I have a very strong bias that says, whatever the motion was, that's what the motion should be. But if there's additional language that was said during the meeting, then yes, that should be part of the discussion.
Well, it was.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying.
There was.
Instead of changing the what I'm saying, all I'm saying is I think you should add what you want to add.
Okay.
But do it as a discussion underneath that rather than changing the motion.
Well, the discussion was actually before the motion, because I said,
Okay.
I said to Randall, because it seemed, it was like we needed a compromise. So I said, I'll go along with naming it the New Durham Community Room, and I suggest, or something that we have a plaque that says the room is dedicated to Rod Nelson.
Right.
And
So
he
just put it
and
above
everyone
that.
else.
Just put it above.
Okay.
But add what words do you want to
So
add?
when I made a motion to change the name of the room to the New Durham Community Room, should have a period there.
Well, so what you're saying then, Sven, is we should restate what I said that the board agreed with?
The board
By
agreed
consent, yeah.
to
By
have
consensus.
a notation or a
So something like Selectman Doherty suggested that a sign be placed naming it the New Durham Community Room, and there should be a plaque added that,
But isn't that what the motion says?
No.
no, it makes it sound like the sign is with the New Durham Community Room with a plaque.
Yeah, I understand the
I see,
issue.
yeah.
I understand this issue. What I'm suggesting, based on what I'm hearing you say, is that by consensus, the board agreed with Selectman Doherty that a plaque
That in addition
is to be, pardon?
That in addition to the signage, New Durham Community Room, a plaque be added
Is to be
dedicating
added.
the room to the memory of
Dedicating.
former.
I think we can put
Okay.
a period there, just,
Nelson. Okay, here's what I'm suggesting based on what you're saying, if it's okay. By consensus, the board agreed with Selectman Doherty that a plaque is to be added dedicating the room to Fire Chief Rod Nelson.
Yeah, sure,
Yeah.
okay.
Is that,
in addition to the signage
Yeah, right.
for,
well, the outside, it's the New Durham Community Room, and then there's a plaque that says,
Dedicated.
Is that okay with that?
Yeah, I think that's.
so you had a motion?
That was, yeah.
Either before or after, I don't care. So that, we're adding on page 8, probably before the motion on the top of the page, by consensus, the board agreed with Selectman Doherty that a plaque is to be added dedicating the room to former Fire Chief Rod Nelson.
That's it.
Is that fair? Okay.
and a plaque be added,
Dedicating
dedicating the room.
Yeah.
The memory.
I think there actually is already a plaque, by the way, inside there, but it may need rewording.
I don't think there's a plaque,
honestly.
There is.
but it's not
You know what,
dedicating the room to.
It doesn't say dedicate, no, it just says Rod Nelson Room or something.
honestly, what I would like to see
What we said was the wall maybe.
You did say but outside, I'm assuming we're gonna put some signage that said New Durham Community Room.
Right.
And I thought underneath that it could say dedicated to.
We didn't cover that as being outside. We had
No.
talked about inside, so.
I don't think we said inside or outside.
No, it didn't.
I said inside.
He did. I actually had a visual of a plaque on the outside of the building.
Yeah, I thought it should be underneath New Durham Community Room and noted there.
Okay. I actually am not in favor of that, but that's, we can discuss that at a future meeting.
Okay.
And I gave information to Scott, through your local fellow shipment.
Yeah.
Renaissance.
Well, we're adding that to page 8. Okay. Anything else?
Looks good.
Okay. Look for a motion.
Make a motion to approve the minutes of May 4th, 2017 as amended.
Second.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, it's carried 3-0. Okay, so that's the, except for the 4th.
Yeah, we haven't done April 20th.
April 20th is a very minor one here.
I could have just gone in and changed it, but it's already been posted.
Pardon?
I probably could have just gone in and fixed it, but.
Yeah, but it wasn't as approved, so if you look on page 4, we corrected it, or added it in the present and all that, but we did not correct it under page 4, the last motion. The name should be Aaron Hernandez. Sorry, it should be Andrew Hernandez. My error, yeah, my error. Should be Andrew Hernandez.
Okay.
Yeah, I fixed it, I did a, maybe I gave you guys a correction.
Yeah.
Yes, you did.
And there is another change that I'm suggesting we should have made on page 2. You can see it in red.
Yeah, the board.
The board left public session at 5:01.
Okay.
Okay. So I will make a motion to reapprove as amended on May 18th, the minutes of April 20th.
Second that.
Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? It's carried 3-0. Okay. That's that for public session. We do need a very brief non-public session. Well, I think it may be brief. All depends on
Who gets
who we get into, yeah.
Who gets 40?
Yeah, well. All right, so I'll make a motion that, and we have 2 sets of minutes, which is the reason for one of these to be as part of the motion. I'll make a motion to go into non-public under RSA 91A:3, Roman numeral 2A, the dismissal, promotion, or compensation of any public employee, etc. RSA 91-3, RSA 91-A:3, Roman numeral 2B, the hiring of any person as a public employee. And RSA, I don't think we need B, sorry. I'm gonna take that back.
Yeah, you don't need.
I don't need B, so take that off. So it's under A and under C, RSA 91-A:3, Roman numeral 2C, matters which if discussed in public likely affect adversely the reputation of any person. And RSA 91-A:3, Roman numeral 2D, consideration of the acquisition, sale, or lease of real or personal property. And the reason for that was the minutes. Yeah. Do I have a second?
Second that.
I think,
Right.
Rob, okay.
I didn't mean to beat you.
No, that's fine. A, C, and D. Rod, second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Calls roll call vote. Selectman Doherty.
Yes.
Selectman Chase.
Yes.
Selectman Swenson, aye. It's carried 3-0. And we leave public session at 9:18.
I'd stay, if I was you, I'll lock the front door and
Okay.
stay right where we are and shut the camera off.
Yeah.
Of course, just because it's hotter than 80 up there,
It is warm.
and at least you get a little bit of a.
Shut the camera off and shut this off.
Yeah, I'll just lock the front door.
No discussion, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. We're out at 10:02. A little longer than usual. Oh, yours is all done we used to have. But Scott, you can again stay until midnight if you wish.
Well, I think it's different when you, like, the entire board's retired.
Oh, it's different when the entire board is here.
That too.
Sorry.
That's
I
it.
don't mean to speak for the past, but there's a huge difference at the board